PEP Radio is a part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project that plays music, news, and weather, actively advocating for the LGBTQ+ and disabled since 2024.
PEP Radio, available on Live 365, Roku, Alexa, and at paquality.com.
Here at Gay SA Radio, we're very happy to welcome the Othering podcast to our airwaves. Catch the show every Thursday at noon CAT, bringing fresh voices and compelling conversations straight to you.
Head over to gsaradio.stream to find out how you can tune in and become part of our family. Don't miss it, only on Gay SA Radio, where you are family.
One man and one woman join forces to rid the world
What are you doing?
of inequality and fascism.
Seriously?
I'm trying I'm trying to do a promo here.
For whom? What are you doing?
Welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory. Hello.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good, I'm tired.
All right, today we are talking to Tayler. We spoke to her on her episode came out on September 8th before, so I highly recommend listening to that one. For those who haven't heard it, she has neurodivergence, POTS, hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, and ostomy bag, and many other diagnoses. She is a patient scientist, which we are going to talk more about today, because we didn't get to that last time. And we are so excited to have her back. Welcome, yes. Tayler.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be back. Part 2.
Yes, part 2. So, since we got off on a tangent last time about neurodivergence, I want to start this time, and I'm sure we'll get back to that, but I want to ask you, how has it been being a scientist and a patient? Because that's just really cool.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's honestly, I won't say like my top dream job, because I want to go further with my career and like becoming like some sort of medical provider, like a PA or a physician. But it's definitely up there in terms of what I never could have imagined I would do with my life, especially being disabled and being a patient. So yeah, I work in a research lab studying Ehlers Danlos syndrome while also living it with myself and studying the comorbidities that come with it too. So it's been a whirlwind. It's been a lot of learning. I have learned so much, and I've crammed my brain with so much in such a short amount of time. But I also feel like I've gotten the same, if not more, in return from just the amount of like fulfillment that I feel like I get from it as well. So it's been really amazing, and I'm just so excited to go to work every day and do my job, and it looks different every single day. So it's really a great thing that I have the opportunity to do.
Do your coworkers have Ehlers Danlos as well? And
they do.
Okay.
I would say, like, if I had to put out a number, 50% of us that work in the lab have EDS. So
Right.
It's about 50-50. It's very normal to be using mobility aids or accommodations or tools. I'm pretty sure all of us in our desk, we all have at least one drawer just dedicated to like pain relief, and a few of us have heating pads just that live on our chairs. If someone like walks in wearing like a neck collar, or right now one of the lab members is in a boot on her foot, it's very normal for us to just like walk in, where we're at. We don't feel like we have to like pretend like it's not a thing and pretend like it's not there, or hide that we're in pain. It's we can say like, these lights are a no right now, like turn off the lights, like, or just put on noise canceling headphones. Like it's a very accepting environment of all of our accommodations and needs, which is something that I had not experienced before, and most people don't really get to experience, because that's not how the world and society works, unfortunately. It should be, but yeah, it's been really amazing.
Yeah, that's great for accessibility. And
Yeah.
then to study the disease, I feel like it's great because you guys know how it affects you. So you kind of know more of what to look at and what's going on. And I think
Yeah.
that's really good.
I think we need more not samples, but like more diseases that are in that model, because so many of them are just, well, you're the patient, you just stick over here and I'll study it. But again, like Mike was saying, it gives such a huge insight, because as a person who has that disease, you'd understand how it affects you, where it affects you. And, you know, being around other people that deal with that disease too, kind of like be able to say, well, it affects me like this, and then somebody else could be affected a different way, and then you can incorporate that into your scientific studies. That's like gold mine.
We have, I mean, on top of us having EDS, we have, I feel like, unique access to the patient population as well, because we can connect to them. And so having a population, especially, I feel like the EDS population and community is so willing to participate in research. Like whenever there's a research call, or even when there's not, we get patients who will either visit or comment on our stuff or send us messages being like, please take my sample. Like, I'll give you anything you need. Like, I'll fill out forms. I'll do whatever. Like, they're always just so willing to help. And that's why when we're working on it, anything that we're working on and that we put out, it feels closer to us. And so we want it to be accurate and we want it to be right. And we're going to make sure that we do it in a way that is quality work, because we don't want to be putting something out that will potentially, you know, harm our own community and our own people. And majority of like researchers and scientists in labs actually don't have any patient interaction at all. So they're studying these diseases of patients that they don't even meet. They don't even see, you know, how it affects them. And there's, you know, a difference. I feel like the community, like the general population, don't realize that there's a difference between scientists that work in a basic science lab and then physicians who are also interested in research. And so we collaborate with clinical physicians and the clinical side as well to incorporate both aspects. So yes, we're a basic science lab, but we also have collaborations with these providers who, some of them have EDS, but some of them don't, and just have taken a special liking to the community and the population and are willing to work with us to figure some of this stuff out. So it truly is like everybody has to be on board and on the same page with it.
Is this something that anybody can find and get a hold of, or is this really specific to your area?
In terms of like collaborations?
Yeah, and just working or getting information from or working with you guys, whatever the case. I don't know how it works exactly, but yeah, the collaborations.
Yeah.
Getting help.
So most of all of the studies we have going on right now are through like the medical like university that I'm at. Nothing is open. Like we've done a genetic registry that like people could send in saliva samples before, but we do always post and advertise for any studies going on. Okay. So like on our website and Instagram, and obviously I would share any of those as well on my Instagram. In terms of collaborations, we have had some providers hear about us and reach out to us, and other times, you know, we have heard about them and we're like, it would be great to collaborate. A lot of times it's pretty like organic how it happens. We just happen to meet, or there just happens to be some sort of intersection, and there's an opportunity for this, you know, collaboration to develop where it's like, well, I have access to, you know, this data and information, and we have access to the techniques to be able to look at it. And so, you know, boom, there it is. So it kind of just varies, but we need people. We can't be the only ones doing it. Right. We need this to grow. You know, we need people to take the same thing, like you said, with other diseases, but even within EDS and do it elsewhere. And so having other people and patients interested, and I think like the patient scientist model is also just inspiring to people who are patients and disabled and chronically ill who thought that maybe that there wasn't space for them in that area for them to be a scientist and pursue their goals. And that I think is what is really encouraging, and was to me, I know, at least when I was pursuing it. So,
and I wholeheartedly wish that they would do more, because I would love to do that too. And moving to South Carolina would be cool if it means that I get to do that.
Right. I literally moved from Oregon, like across the country.
Yeah, it wouldn't be quite as across the country for me, but still, it would be really awesome to do those things. And like you said, it's more of this is what I deal with, so I have to be right.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to disrupt the community by being wrong or getting, of course, things happen. But I do believe that when you have a stake in it, it does kind of invoke this feeling of, I've got to get this right. I've got to be better. And I can imagine the productivity is just through the roof, especially when you guys have migraines or things are going on and you can dim the lights or turn them off, or maybe noise canceling and all that stuff, instead of worrying about, it's got to be the stereotypical setting.
Yeah. We definitely have to, there's definitely a lot of us that push ourselves very hard because we're wanting to get stuff done. We're wanting to get stuff out. We're wanting to learn. And science takes a while. Like, it's not as fast as people think that it often is. It can take years and years and years. And so when you have a project that is going on for so long, like, you want to keep working. And so, some of us do push ourselves beyond probably what we should. But that's just because we want to get the information out as soon as possible to people. We want it to be accurate, and we want it to help not hurt. We want it to provide answers and to provide relief and potential help to the community and not do further harm.
You mean that all this time we've watched TV shows and it's not resolved in 30 minutes or less?
Exactly. They do one experiment and they're like, oh my gosh, it's magic.
Yes.
No, we do an experiment and then we fine tune it and then we do it 1,000 more times and then we check it again and feel like that's probably still not right. And then we check it again with a different experiment. Like, it's a rigorous process.
It is. And I think more people need to understand that too, because it's not like we're just seeing if it sticks to the wall. Okay, it stuck to the wall, let's go. You have to keep testing it. And if it's not retestable, then more times than not, it's usually thrown out as that's not right. And you go through so much rigorous studying, and you got to pull out historical records, and you've got to find new ones, and you got to take samples up the wazoo to make sure all of this stuff is correct. And way more people need to understand that when new information about diseases or new cures or just something that helps you live longer comes out, it's not just a 5-minute process.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And oftentimes, like, it's very normal if something comes out about a new finding for a lab to try to reproduce it and validate it. Because if you're not able to validate it, then maybe that's not, the science that we should be focusing on. So to put something out and then have it validated is also a part of the process. And again, a very rigorous and important step.
Yeah, because it only takes one. I don't know why, but it takes one to ruin it all, and for everybody. And it just kind of, I don't understand why, because they even recanted their study. But people need to understand that this is really hard stuff. It's not, solved in 30 minutes or less. It's not like, oh, well, I've got some DNA and I can match it to you in 2 seconds. It doesn't work that way. And I think having patient scientists, because then you can spread the word better and you can say, it's not big pharma, it's not just for that, it's affecting me too. I want to get this right. And I think the more we have those people out there, the better that science gets a better name, because sometimes it does seem so abstract and so over there because a lot of people don't necessarily have the disease, or it's not affecting anybody they know. They just research it.
And the idea and the concept of research is like so like variable across like the general population. I feel like even before I started, like I didn't know what went into research to that extent. And so just having like a better understanding to be able to say like this is what research actually looks like. It's not what's portrayed in movies, like you said. I think would help with a lot of the kind of sparkly headlines that pop up and all these like things that get floated through the media, to be able to know like, all right, it probably didn't, it's not that simple.
I wish it was sometimes, but it's not that simple. It's not like, you know what, today I feel like it should be this and then it's that. It doesn't work that way. Science has always been a great way to prove things and or disprove things. And it's never just about, fame and fortune. Of course not. You don't get famous off of that. Usually not until after you're dead.
You're right.
Kind of like an art. But the fact that we scrutinize it and heavily, and then people still say, oh, it can't be true. But it is. Kind of like, I know I told you I was going to get back to this somehow. But like with autism, at how Tylenol now is being used as the scapegoat. But when you look at the data from like 150 countries at least, all of them prove that it's not Tylenol, that it's a very complex syndrome, and that it is, just something that happens because genetics happen. And I wish it was that simple to say, oh, well, Tylenol did it and, move on. But it's not. Yeah. And we can't be thinking in terms that simple because it harms so many people.
Yeah. Well, in my own theory or opinion, not, with zero anything to back it up, is that a lot of people just are uncomfortable with something not having much of an explanation, except that sometimes that just happens because then it's out of our control, and that can make people uncomfortable. Like, people are uncomfortable with that, especially because the world is pretty ableist. And so if there's a possibility that can happen to you or your kid or someone that you love, that's an uncomfortable thing that you have to sit with and be okay with. And we as a society aren't taught how to do that.
No, we're not. I mean, it's like serial killers. Some of them do it just because. It's not because they were abused or ridiculed. Not that autism is like serial killing. It's totally different things, but it's a popular topic. But with serial killers, some of them do it because they were abused. Some of them have no reason. They just are compelled to do that. And yeah, it is uncomfortable to think that somebody could just randomly go out and kill somebody, but we have to live with it because that's just how some things are. And we still don't understand why volcanoes erupt. And we're not trying to say Tylenol made them erupt.
Right.
We don't go around and say that, Tylenol made computers crash. There's just a lot of things in the world that we have to get used to the fact is just we're not going to have an answer to.
Yep. Yeah. And correlation is not causation. Every year there's an uptick in ice cream sales. The same time there's an uptick in shark bites.
Right.
So ice cream must be causing shark attacks.
Right. Of course. And I mean, crayons get sold a lot during September. Does that mean that the flu is caused by crayons? No.
Yeah.
I like those theories. Those are good.
I think we're onto something there.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, the shark bites, I have to say, it probably is because of ice cream, because they want some ice cream too, and we eat it, so they got to eat us, because they can't, come on land.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It makes sense. It does make a lot of sense.
We started our own theories. Haha. But it always kind of boggles me that so many people are okay with just the simple answer to things, or not being able to sit in that discomfort of not knowing why some things are.
And I think that is part of, not to bring it back to autism again, but, or neurodivergence, but I do see that a lot of neurodivergent people are a lot more comfortable sitting with that type of complex feeling, because I feel like we feel so complexly all the time.
Yes.
And so it doesn't feel that new to us. At least that's how it is for me. So yeah, I don't know.
It is that way for me too. And I mean, it's just like, well, a lot of the complexities don't bother me, except why serial killers kill. I'm still trying to figure that one out, because that just fascinates the hell out of me. Not the death part. Well, actually, that kind of does too. But not to say that I'm going to go.
Psychology.
Yes, that. Thank you.
And that's humans are curious creatures. Did you guys know that I am Brian Koberger, the Idaho 4 serial killing that happened? That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up.
Oh wow, no, I didn't know that.
Did not.
Yeah, in Idaho. Yes.
So you grew up
Very close to home.
very close, and that's scary too.
Yeah.
To think of how somebody that you could have gone to school with or could have known is doing those things. And again, it's the guns. It has to be. I mean, we've tried so many other things, and every other nation that is industrialized, that has gun laws, doesn't have mass killings every day. They have maybe every 5 to 10 years. I mean, Australia's last one was 1996. So it's got to be the guns. I mean, I know people are, well, guns don't kill people. They sure as fuck help. They sure as fuck help us kill those people. And when you add in a bump stock or machine guns and things like that nobody really should have access to, now you've got mass shootings. And it's just, I wish they would stop blaming it on the fact that it's mental illness and then just throwing their hands up and saying, well, we can't do anything about it. You can. If it is 100% mental illness, get people the help they need, and then maybe they'll stop doing it.
Provide the resources. Don't cut the resources, if anything. I mean, the amount of resources that we could be putting into, mental health care and mental health is affected by so many things like poverty and food insecurity and, citizenship and access to education, access to healthcare. It's so complex in so many layers. And there's 1,000 ways that you could come at it. And it seems like they're all getting worse. We're not having better access to any of those things. We're not having better resource for any of that stuff.
And it's by design, because when you basically tank a country, it makes it easier to take over the populace, because they want to have a scapegoat. And then if you say, well, it's this people's problem, then it goes down the way of Germany and us in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s with the indigenous population, where we just did manifest destiny and we slaughtered indigenous people and Mexicans when we took over Texas, and we commit genocide all the time, and we don't answer to that, so it just repeats itself. And then we don't want people to understand these things, and we don't want people to learn these things, so then they can look at disabled people and say, ew, gross, get them away from me. And then when you've scapegoated them and the LGBTQ people as, ew, yuck, get away from me, now it makes it easier to control the others that aren't so much, because you've already, destroyed the front lines.
You've targeted the vulnerable populations, So it's easy to target them when they don't have the same equitable amount of means to defend themselves.
Right. And I'll be if I go to hell for this, I don't care, but I am not going to let that happen. Not on my watch. You know, I've read the books. I've seen the movies. I actually paid attention somewhat in, you know, social studies. And I can't sit by and let that happen. Because, not just because I'm a part of it, just I'm a human. Right. And I think that's where we need to get back to is our humanity. Mm-hmm. And I am so sorry. I've gotten us totally off the topic.
That's okay.
You know, that's how my brain works. It's like, ooh, I see a connection over here. Let me talk about this.
Yeah.
I have one.
Yeah.
You mentioned mental health, and if you don't mind talking about this, I saw on your Instagram you're going through the OCD desensitization, or whatever that word is.
Desensitization.
Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's a combination. So I have OCD. It's a combination of exposure therapy and TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation. And it's basically like magnetic waves. Is that the correct? I guess so. Like magnetic forces, waves that are targeting a specific area of the brain. The area that's responsible for, you know, obsessive thoughts, OCD. They also do it in depression. So I actually did it for depression in 2021, maybe 2022, a few years ago. And I say, put my depression in remission. I don't think that if I still experience like symptoms of depression, they're significantly reduced compared to what I was experiencing before that. So I say that it put me in remission. So for that one, I was going 4 to 5 days a week, and it was about 7-minute sessions where I had this like flat kind of plate against the left side of my head. And it was, I think, 7 seconds of on zapping and then 10 seconds off or something along those lines for about 3 minutes. And I did it for about 36 sessions. And I didn't notice that big of a difference in the middle of it. But definitely from beginning until end, looking back retrospectively, I was like, okay, wow, I was really depressed. And like I knew that I was, but just like being able to be on the other side of it was very encouraging. And so then when I learned that that is also an option for OCD, I decided to do that because my OCD is also treatment resistant. So I've tried all the medications. I've done lots of different forms of therapy, and I've had OCD my whole life. Like I don't remember not having it, and I have always thought that my thought patterns are just normal because that's the only way that I've ever thought. But I recently made a new friend who acquired OCD like acutely, so she went from, you know, completely no OCD thoughts at all to then having like very severe OCD, and started explaining and recognizing my different thoughts and behaviors and how they affect me more than I thought that they did. And so I started doing that. But the caveat is that with TMS for OCD, it is a lot more effective if you do provocation or exposures beforehand. And so studies have shown, you know, it can help if you do just exposures, it can help if you do just TMS, but if you combine them, the effect can be a lot stronger. So yeah, before I still do it 5 days a week. So I go every day after work, and it's an 18-minute kind of treatment. But before I start getting zapped, I have to do some sort of exposure for some like thought obsession or compulsion that I have. So my main kind of themes are contamination, and it really focuses on like the fear of getting sick and throwing up. And then I have a lot of relationship OCD, like with my husband, that also kind of turns into like catastrophic death OCD. So I'm like terrified that he's going to die. I have all these obsessive thoughts that like he's going to die, going to get in a terrible accident, all these things. And then a few other like right and wrong OCD, like some morality type stuff. So my main exposures have been like touching a toilet seat and then not washing my hands, or touching the cleaning toilet brush, like the bristles of it, and then not washing my hands. Or yesterday we put like Starburst on the floor, and then the nurse stepped on them with her shoes, and then I had to eat the Starburst. Granted, they were in a wrapper, So,
Okay.
but I still had to unwrap them with my hands and then eat it with my hands. Or we'll look at videos and pictures of people gagging or throwing up, which have been the hardest. But you're supposed to, slowly work your way up. They want you at a high enough level of anxiety for treatment, but they don't want you to quit.
Right.
So
you mentioned the throwing up. Do you like have a fear of throwing up, or is it a fear of the germs in the throw up?
Or is it both?
But
because I have a horrible fear of vomit. Like I hate throwing
yes.
up, and I hate seeing it or hearing it or anything. But I don't think it has much to do with I don't know what it is, honestly. I wouldn't have said I'm OCD. I just think it's a phobia for me. So I thought that was interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah, both for me, because I definitely, like, the driving factor is, like, okay, I'm scared that I'm going to throw up, but that turns into, like, then I have to follow this, like, path of contamination, like, 1,000 levels down to figure out anything that could potentially create that result. So, yeah, I've been, like, I haven't been able to watch a video of someone getting sick, but just yesterday she was like playing like a video of it out loud to have me like kind of listen to it, and that was like I think the most level of anxiety that I've had for all of my treatment. Like I was like, no, like I can't, like that's too much, like I can't do it. And she's made me look at pictures of it, of like someone or it being like on the ground and stuff, and I'm just like, it's weird because obviously you don't want to, like everything is screaming like, no, this is bad, this is danger, this is a threat. But I want to get better, and I know the only way I'm going to get better is if that I do it and force myself to be anxious so then I can get my brain zapped. And so I'm sitting there like, one of them I was like even like peeking through my eyes. Like I was like covering my eyes but like kind of peeking through them, like trying to force myself to look at it, but it's so hard.
It is.
So
because
I'm almost halfway through. I don't know if I'm going to get to the point of being able to watch a video of someone doing it. That's the goal, but we'll see.
I got the most over it when Dory got pregnant because she was sick through all 3 pregnancies, and I had to go through that, and then I had the kids. Kids always vomit, so that's when I got the most over it, but I'm not still completely over it.
And I have to say that, like, watching you in touching the toilet,
I think that's a bit extreme.
That, like,
I don't think I could do that.
If it helps you, awesome. But I felt like my anxiety was going through the roof watching you do that. And it's amazing at how going through those, like, vomit doesn't bother me. Hearing it or seeing it, it's just the smell that gets me.
I mean, it's gross. Like, I'm not going to say that it's not gross, but like the goal is that I'll get to the point that everybody else is at where I can be like, yeah, that's gross. And like, I'm not going to voluntarily like go roll around in it. But I also am not going to
wait a minute. Who voluntarily would roll around in somebody's vomit?
I think there are fetishes out there.
That is awful. I'm sorry.
Well, they had one guy, he couldn't even touch a doorknob when he started. And then by the end of it, his last treatment, he jumped in their dumpster.
Wow.
Like, so sometimes, I mean, all the comments on my videos are like, that's so extreme, that's unnecessary, that's unprofessional, it's unsanitary. But I also think that people aren't understanding, like, sometimes you have to go to those extremes to be able to get to the point of being at the same level as everybody else. And, like, obviously, once I'm done with the treatment, they let me go wash my hands. I'm not leaving as, like, a public health hazard. Like, I get to wash my hands eventually. So, like, touching the toilet and then sitting there with my hands like this for 20 minutes is not harming anyone.
Right.
And that's the point, is because logically, I know that, but in my brain, I'm imagining the germs are jumping off of me and getting all over my clothes, and that they're in the air, and that I'm breathing them in, and they're going to make me sick, and that I'm going to die. Like, that's not a normal thought process. So in order to get over that, I have to do the extremes.
And it looks like a pretty clean toilet.
Yeah.
So that helps.
They keep telling me that they don't clean it often. I think that that's just to, like, feed into it. People were convinced online that they probably just secretly, like, replaced the brush with a new one before I came in. We decide my exposure together when I come in. So, like, when I went in yesterday, she's like, okay, what do you want to do today? I was like, well, I brought Starburst to put on the floor. It's not like they cleaned the floor before I came in because they had no idea, you know? So they, you know, the brush day, they're like, well, why don't we do something in the bathroom? And then they leave it up to me because they obviously don't want to do something beyond what I'm, you know, comfortable with while still being uncomfortable. And so they're like, well, how about just the handle or just the seat? And I'm like, why don't we just touch the whole brush? Like, they had no idea that I was going to say that. So it's definitely not clean. Like, they didn't secretly go in and replace it before I got there.
So did you have troubles cleaning your own bathroom at your house before this?
I just keep a very rigorous process. Like, I wear gloves. I wear a mask in case it, like, splashes. I use bleach and then 1,000 paper towels. And then I have to do it in a way that, like, when I'm done and I'm putting everything away, that I'm not, like, cross-contaminating things. So, you know, I, like, put the toilet wand, like, in a bag, and then I zip that up. But then, okay, this outside of that bag is dirty, so I have to put it in its designated spot. And then I can't put the paper towels away because those are going back somewhere clean. So then I have to take off my gloves. But then my gloves have to go in the garbage that I just threw everything away in. So then I have to do the garbage and throw that away, replace it. But I can't put the paper towels away yet. So I have to wash my hands a few times. And then I can grab the paper towels, you know?
Okay.
Yes.
It's a
Not
process.
everyone goes through that same thought process. People would probably just be like, all right, everything goes away. But if I don't do it like that, I'm convinced that then my house is going to get contaminated, because then if someone touches those paper towels after I've touched them, then they're going to dry their hands and they're going to go touch a doorknob, and then they're going to cook food, and then this and this and then this, you know?
Yeah.
No, honestly, I don't want to validate your fears, but at the same time, I understand them.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it can be overwhelming when you go to clean, especially, like, you know, you hear all of the stupid stories about toilets and all of the stuff where they kind of freak you into becoming OCD.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that, like, I've read about the whole bathroom, I'm surprised that more people don't have OCD. And not as a joke or anything. I don't want that to come off as a joke at all, because I'm not joking about it. It's literally just so much information. Like, you know, you gotta cover the toothbrush and
all
of these
when people
things.
have their toothbrushes just in a little cup on the counter right next to the toilet, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that is crazy to me.
Yeah, and when you hear about all these things, and growing up with my mom, she wasn't OCD, but I would say she was borderline. There are certain things that you had to do it in a certain way, and if you didn't, you would cross-contaminate. And I have the tendency to, you know, like, fuss and say, you know, you've got to do it this way, because if you don't, you'll cross-contaminate. And it's kind of like, where do you find that?
The line.
Yeah.
Because some of it, there is validity in it. Like, yeah, you don't want to go to the bathroom and not wash your hands. That's not sanitary. But also, you know, you don't want to go to the extremes of it. Like, another big one for me is, like, cooking raw meat. Like, I think that you have to, like, change the utensil at a certain time, and the utensil can only sit in a specific place, and, like, all of these things. And it's like, you want to, you know, have good food safety habits, but at the same time, like, you don't want to take it so far to the point that you're, like, having, like, panic and anxiety over it.
Right. Like, I honestly can't touch messy things. It drives me nuts, and my anxiety will go through the roof. Like, I can't touch slime, even though it's fine. Like, once my hands are dirty, I'm okay. But it's like that initial touch, it's like my whole body just kind of tenses up, and I just want to scream bloody murder. Because, and it's not so much germs, it's just that feeling of being dirty. And it drives me nuts. And it's not, I'm not saying it's the same as OCD, it's not, but I can understand the fear and the thought process, though, because when I'm trying to, like, say, make meatloaf, and, you know, you crack the eggs and you have to mix it with the beef, it takes me a good 5 minutes before I can touch it because I hate that feeling, and I don't, and things are going in the back of my mind of, ooh, raw meat, raw eggs. You got to thoroughly clean your hands afterwards. Yeah. And then you have kids, and oh my God.
And you don't
kids
care
are
anymore.
So gross and germy and sticky and messy.
Yes. And there have been times like, there's this commercial about the great poopocalypse. And I've been through the poopocalypse. And honestly, children do kind of help you get over some of those fears that you have, because you can't in the moment be freaking out. You just gotta jump in there and take care of them.
Do it, yeah.
Although,
which is part of the reason why I haven't had kids. So
I want to go back to the vomit topic. So, back in the beginning of our relationship, we went to Disney World with Dory's family and a couple of friends of their family, and almost everyone got food poisoning from pizza. Dory and I had our own room. Her parents had their own room. Everyone kind of was in their own hotel rooms. And Dory threw up once in our room, and I kicked her out of the room and sent her to her parents and stayed in the room by myself because it was that bad.
Yep,
So,
I would have done the same. I still would do the same. I'm not
so when your husband gets sick
yet to not do that.
So when your husband gets sick, you run away, basically?
That literally, I have to knock on wood, that hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
And we've been together for almost 10 years and lived together for at least, I think, 7 of them. That literally hasn't happened.
Wow.
He's just really healthy and has a good immune system, I guess. He did throw up when I was gone. I was out of town, like just a few months ago, but obviously I wasn't there, so it wasn't as bad. But I still didn't go into that bathroom because we have 2 bathrooms. I didn't go into that bathroom for a week after I got home, even though I know that he cleaned it. I couldn't go into the bathroom for a week after that. So I have literally had a plan for years, like if he gets sick, I'm getting a hotel room, or I'm going to my friend's house, or I'm going here, or I'm kicking him out wherever, because I have memories of being like a kid and someone in my family gets sick, and like I quarantined myself to the downstairs because no one lived down there, like, and I wouldn't go upstairs. I just like starved myself, and I wouldn't eat because all the food was upstairs.
Yeah.
So, I definitely do the same thing.
Do you avoid... No. Do you never get sick because you're so afraid of it? You basically push it back down? I think I did that. I didn't throw up for over 18 years, maybe even 20 years. Yeah.
There's definitely, especially with like chronic illness stuff, there's definitely been times where if I think would I have been afraid of it, my body probably would have done it. But because I'm so afraid of it, I like can like will myself to not. And I think sometimes when I tell doctors that, they don't really believe me, but it's a thing. Like you can, your brain can be powerful sometimes. So the last time I threw up was a few years ago, but it was because I had just gotten over COVID, and it was like the OG COVID, and I didn't have my taste, and I was like hanging out with my parents and some of their friends, and the guy that was making the drinks thought it would be funny to put extra alcohol in my drinks because I couldn't taste it. And so he put extra alcohol in my drinks, and I didn't know because I couldn't taste it. And then it made me throw up because I had way too much to drink.
That's not quite as bad when you're drunk.
Yeah, and I remember in the moment, because I only threw
I've done that.
I think 2 times, but I remember in the moment, my husband was like comforting me. I was trying to comfort myself by like instilling my brain like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It didn't feel that bad. Maybe it's not so bad. Like maybe I shouldn't be scared. Like I was outwardly telling myself these things to try to, because a lot of people say, well, like once you get sick, like you'll get over it. Like it'll be enough exposure.
Nope.
But that doesn't always happen. That's not always true. I was trying to make that true in that moment. Like this is my chance to get over it, but I still didn't.
I got sick like
impossible.
a year ago. I have vasovagal syndrome as well. Vasovagal syncope. So every time I would throw up, I'd pass out. Dory had to hold me up to make sure I didn't miss the toilet. It doesn't get any better.
No.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's terrible.
honestly, it makes me terrified of him going to the bathroom. And it kind of compounds a lot of those things. And especially when you're already neurodivergent, of any
Yeah.
sort, and then you get like hyper focused on those things, and
Yep.
it does manifest really easily into fears. Like I said, I am terrified of him going to the bathroom, especially overnight, because I'm not awake enough to catch him.
Yeah.
And I'll have these thoughts where he's gonna like pass out and he's gonna whack his head, and then I'm gonna get in there and there's gonna be like blood everywhere. And
Yep.
I have an overreactive imagination too. So, I go immediately to blood and guts everywhere, but it hasn't happened, but it still is in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And so when you have OCD, I would imagine that those types of fears are 10 times worse than the quote unquote normal level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The other day, I mean, like I said, my husband's really healthy and doesn't really have any health issues. But the other day he said, I've just been like a little bit dizzy today. And my brain immediately was like, well, I'm about to have to leave the house. And you said that you want to go on a bike ride. You're going to be on your bike ride. You're going to be so dizzy that you're going to fall over. You're going to hit your head. You're going to be unconscious, probably have a subdural brain bleed. No one's going to find you. And then you're going to die. I'm going to come home. You're not going to know where you're at. I'm going to have to go find you. And then it's going to be too late. We're not going to be able to save you. Like, that's the immediate spiral that my brain does. And that's what I'm trying to stop it from doing with this treatment, hopefully.
And I hope it works, because I understand it how horribly debilitating it can be, having these spirals and that just seem to never end.
Yeah.
My grandmother, one of my grandmothers had, she wasn't diagnosed because they didn't really talk about it back then, but it was obvious she had OCD. She was a germaphobe. Like, she didn't like to shake hands. She didn't like to make certain foods because she couldn't stand the idea of the germs of it. And
Yep.
that's partially where my mom got some of hers, and where I got from my mom. And it's frightening, some of the things that my mom would talk about my grandmother doing, and how terrified she was with doing those things. And so I understand the debilitating aspect of it. And sometimes it does affect relationships, because if you are in a heightened sense on call 24/7, it can kind of dampen some moods and things like that. And I don't want to put words in your mouth or make you think that, oh crap, kind of thing in your relationship, but I'm just saying I get the spiral, and I get where it can lead to.
The only thing that we ever really like argue or fight about is related to my fears. Like, I have a fear that a food, like let's say like he put so much work into making a meal for me, and my brain is convincing me that it's going to make me sick and I don't want to eat it. Obviously that makes him feel like what he just did isn't appreciated, or like there's a food that I'm convinced like that we just bought isn't good, but he was really looking forward to eating it, and so I'm like, no, you have to throw it out. Like, obviously that's frustrating. And so that's like the only time, I mean, that it does end up affecting our relationship. And I try to be pretty conscious of like not that I think that I'm gonna like make him develop it from my fears, but also like he's his own person and he should be able to make decisions for himself. But in my brain, I'm like, well, but if you get sick, that affects me too, and that's scary. So it's like this weird, hard, like back and forth that I go through in my own head about it, trying to like, maintain control of what I think that I can control, even though I have a lot less control than I think that I do.
So does your work affect you? Because I would think being in the medical field would be terrible for someone with OCD like that, that's worried about getting sick.
Well, so thankfully, none of my patients that I interact with it's a very low, in my brain when I categorize it, it's a low risk for throw up. And I weirdly enough am a lot less sensitive to other like things in the medical field. Like, we had a patient, it was like a donor patient, so they had just passed and they're donating organs, and we were collecting some tissue for research, and they were like Hep B positive, like hepatitis B. And, you know, when you have a donor that you're collecting from, it's very fast paced and there's going to be blood everywhere. And I'm dealing with tissues and you're touching a lot of things and like stuff's probably getting on your clothes, the bottom of your shoes. I was way less worried about that. Like, I didn't really care. I even came home and my husband's like, are you gonna shower? And I was like, it's like 2 a.m. Like, I'm tired. And he's like, I don't know, that's kind of gross. You smell like a dead body a little bit. And I was like, okay, fine, I guess so. And then my alive patients, I see them before they go into surgery. And so if I was seeing them after, I would be way more terrified because anesthesia can make people really nauseous and throw up. But I'm seeing them before they get the anesthesia. So I'm not as worried about it, you know?
No, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense. I mean, we have, you know, our quirks and we have our fears and we have our like spirals and, you know, some of them can be debilitating. Some of them are just fine. And it just depends on the subject. And then, you know, you drill down into that subject. Like, a terrible example, but an example, I cannot stand the sound of bones breaking. Like, it literally makes my body...
How often are you listening to bones breaking? Hopefully not.
That's the best reaction I've ever heard.
Well,
it's not like a daily occurrence.
No. But it's here and there. You know, you watch horror movies. I love watching horror movies a lot.
Oh, okay. Horror movies. Okay, I can see that. I was thinking like real life.
Oh God, no.
It's like, how many people are you coming across breaking bones?
One person who did it twice, and once when I was there, and my body literally went kind of.
Yeah, it like kind of does like a screenshot almost.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and I literally felt like my bones have melted in my body, and I could not hold myself up because I just the sound kills me, and then at the same time, seeing it like you know when it pops through, or the blood, it doesn't bother me, and it's just, and I think that sometimes, as an example, an extreme example, but an example of just how some things can terrify the hell out of us.
Yeah.
And then other things that I guess you could say normal people would be afraid of doesn't bother us. Right. And I can see why, you know, seeing your patients before or, you know, once they've passed are two different things versus actual germs from a toilet or even the toilet brush. And I commend you for being able to do that.
Well, and like sometimes our living patients that we have to collect saliva samples and I have to like switch the top, like after they give me the sample, I have to switch the top off and sometimes there's like a string of saliva and that was like really grossing me out and I was having to like kind of get over that. But then, you know, the first time that I was watching a donor collection, they cut you from neck to groin and you're completely spread open and it's like organs and stuff everywhere. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. Like, it didn't faze me at all, except in the fact that I was like taking everything in because I was like, this is so like this is inside a body. Like, that's crazy. So it's like weird how little things like that, like the saliva bothered me more than like seeing, you know, organs being taken out of somebody. So
I find it fascinating. I mean, I went to medical school with one of my friends that rode horses with me, and she took me with her, and I got to watch her and her classmates do dissections on cadavers, and that was incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, they told us how some of them died, and to me it was fascinating. And then I would like tell my mom, and my mom's like, are you nuts? These people died like this? And I'm like, yeah, isn't that great? And well, wait, yeah, never mind. That isn't so great.
Right. It's interesting to learn about.
Yes.
Some people can't even hear like if I'm trying to tell somebody like, oh, and then they did this and this and then we did this, and they're like, oh, I can't even listen to that, let alone like think about watching it. But yeah, it's really interesting how we react differently to different things.
It is. And I think that should actually be kind of studied more too. Not just what our behaviors are afterwards, but like, I think it would kind of help with OCD, more understanding why certain things bother us, but other things don't.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I just think it is also like really cool that they have come up with that treatment for OCD. Because, like I said, back when my grandparents were young, I didn't even know if they talked about OCD much, if they even understood it back then.
How did you find that treatment? Is it covered by insurance?
It is covered by insurance. I have not had to pay anything thus far. Hopefully I won't have to. They said they were going to cover it. But I went to go see a psychiatrist because I was like, I need to find, like, I can't just not have a sort of treatment. And I thought, I was more so thinking like medication wise, but I had so many different factors of like certain medications I can't absorb because of my ostomy bag. But then I also have this genetic mutation that makes me not metabolize medications correctly. So then I wasn't feeling any effect from them. Like no matter how long I took it and what dose I took, I wasn't feeling anything from it. And so I was running out of, I tried like 15 different medications, but none of them were working. And then therapy, I had been in off and on since I was 13, so over 10 years. And that still wasn't working. And so I was trying to go to someone new to be like, can you help me figure out what we can try next? And that's when he was like, oh, well, there's TMS for OCD. And I had no idea. And so I think it was helpful that I'd already gone through it with depression, but there was still like some, not, I don't want to say like hesitancy, but I was still, anxious going into it. I had no idea that there was the exposure part to it until my first appointment. They had me bring in like a list of things that trigger me, kind of hierarchical from 1 to 10. And I thought they were just going to say, okay, here's level 3. Just think about this scenario that you wrote down. And they did say for a lot of people, just thinking of scenarios and like imagining them is enough to get their anxiety up and provoke them. But for some reason, it is not for me. And I think that that comes from an entire life of shoving down, everything, like being provoked and triggered by stuff all the time, but not feeling like it's socially acceptable to show it. So now I have to shove it down until I'm in a space where it feels safe to finally let it out. So that's why I'm having to do so many actual physical exposures instead of just like thinking about things, because I am not getting to a high enough level of anxiety to be able to have an effective treatment.
Do you feel like you can share those now and not have to shove them down anymore?
No. even with the TMS team, like because like when I've posted some of those videos of me doing the exposures, some of the comments are like, I can't believe you're smiling and like laughing about it. I would be crying. And it's like, well, it's a defense mechanism. Like, obviously, I'm not having a good time. It's just like how when some people are uncomfortable, they just like laugh, and that's their like deflection to deal with the uncomfortable feelings. And it's the same thing. But there's also been times where I've walked into TMS and I was already crying because I didn't want to do it and I didn't want to be there. And the people definitely match like whatever vibe you bring. Like if I come in and I'm like, just trying to be like, okay, let's get this over with. Like, yeah, this is terrible. I'm probably also laughing a little bit because I feel silly. Like, it feels silly that I can't just like look at a picture of some throw up and like not be okay. And so, there's definitely lots of layers to it. But then the days that I've come in and I'm obviously not there to joke around and have a good time, they meet me where I'm at and will be at the same level. So it just depends, and not every session and not every experience that I have gets shown on the internet, because obviously I'm not going to feel like filming it when I'm already crying.
No. Definitely not. But I just mean like not necessarily showing it on the internet, but just amongst friends or amongst the doctors, at least showing it there, like being to the point of comfort so that you at least know that the people that are right there with you are safe.
I'm getting a little bit better with the TMS team. It's still not good, but I also just have this like disconnect between my body and my brain. Like my brain just dissociates from my body, because they're always like, well, what's your anxiety level? And they want you at like 7, 8, 9. And by that point you should be feeling physical anxiety symptoms, but I'm not able to recognize those well. And I think that like the neurodivergent piece has a lot to play in that too. So it's hard for me to even like know how anxious I am, to be able to allow myself to show it. Definitely with my husband, I feel a lot more comfortable. And then I have a friend who also has OCD who had that acute onset. And I feel a little bit better kind of voicing certain obsessions and fears that I have, because a lot of them you would think, you know, if you say them out loud to you know, random people, like they would look at you like you're crazy. Like, you know, there's wild obsessive thoughts and like intrusive thoughts that come up. And I just, yeah, you get scared of like, I don't want someone to think that I actually like want to drive my car off a bridge, you know, because I don't want to, but that's just like what I thought about. So I do want to get better at it, but I also need to work on like being more in tune with like my brain and my body connection.
That is the hard part too, is because sometimes just certain things kind of trigger and you either regress or you want to hide or you want to just push it away because it's that uncomfortable. And I think being able to even show an eighth of that publicly is amazing. And I really love the fact that you do that sometimes. And, you know, keep some of it for yourself because you're going through it. It's for you too. But I love that you do it because it shows more of the normalcy of just getting through stuff. And sometimes those scary thoughts, even though they seem terrifying to you, or in, you know, part of your brain is like, well, this is silly, but the other part's like, no, it's not. And I've had those thoughts where I'm like, why do I even think this way? It's so stupid. It's so silly. Nobody would do that. But sharing those thoughts kind of, like, for me, makes me feel better. And it makes me feel like I'm more human.
Right.
Because for so long I didn't feel human. And I thought, well, it was just me or I'm literally crazy. Yeah. And seeing you go through those steps is just, it's nice. Like, I wish you didn't have to, but I like seeing it because it just humanizes it more.
Yeah, humanize it, yeah. And I guess I have kind of started talking about it at work a little bit, and not every like intrusive thought is like super gruesome. Sometimes they're just like, I guess you could call them a little bit inappropriate, but like I've had intrusive thoughts. Like one time I was leaving work and I was saying goodbye to some coworkers and I had an intrusive thought to like give them a kiss on the forehead. Like that's like not a normal social behavior, but it's also not harmful.
Right.
And
no, I've had that too. Where like I thought I should kiss them or something.
Yeah, and so I was leaving, and I was like, well, my brain just told me to give you guys all a kiss on the forehead, so here's your metaphorical kiss on the forehead, you know? Or, like, I was, like, walking up to someone, and I was like, my brain just told me that I should tickle you. Obviously, I'm not gonna, but just want to let you know. And, like, they're more so, like, funny, haha, making a little bit lighter. They're not, like, bad ones. Now, obviously, if I had a really gruesome one of like, oh, I had just a thought to throw you out the window, I'm not gonna tell them that because that's not helpful and it's also not funny. But you know, there's like a few certain little things where I have started to talk about it a little bit and I guess bring a little bit more light to it.
No, and it's needed because especially the more like difficult diagnoses of OCD, schizophrenia, things like that, where it is so stigmatized and so made fun of. Oh, well, I hear voices too, or oh, I thought I was gonna do this too, and people don't understand it.
Yeah.
And how awful it can be for the person who is going through these thoughts or sounds or things like that. And I think that what you're doing is such a great service to everybody because you're showing that people do go through these things, but there is a light at the other end. You can find a way to get better. And honestly, I had never heard of the TMS. And because I had heard of, non-treatment levels of anxiety and things like that. But I didn't hear of TMS,
Yeah.
Nobody talks about those things. And putting it out there is awesome, because then there's more people that can know, oh, this is an option.
This is an option, yeah.
And because, trying every single medicine is just, it shouldn't have to be that way, because just some of them are already grouped together similarly. So you already know that if one doesn't work, pretty much the others aren't going to work either.
Yeah.
And going through so many different types, it's heartbreaking sometimes. Trying to, well, this doesn't work or this doesn't work. Like with Mike, it took us forever to find the medication that could help him even the slightest bit.
Yeah.
And it's just, from my point of view, watching somebody go through that is awful, because you feel like, for me, I felt like I was letting him down, even though it's not my fault. Yes, exactly. And so, thank you so much.
And for anyone who wants to see what we're talking about, you can find Tayler at Distabled on Instagram. I'll put it in the show description. And I'm doing that because we're out of time.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That hour went by really, really fast.
It did. And thank you so much. I love talking to you. I could talk forever with you. You are so knowledgeable, and it is greatly appreciative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you guys having me back for round 2, because there's always a lot to talk about, and we definitely ran out of time way too fast the first time.
Yes.
So.
We'll have to have a third round.
Right? I'm always down anytime you want.
Awesome. Thank you. Because you're so great to talk to, honestly. And you're so comfy and
that's honestly all I want. That's such a great compliment. I just want to feel like a good, someone to easily talk to and be able to relate with and be a safe person. So I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Othering Podcast by Mike and Dory. Please like and follow us on all of your favorite social media.
The Othering Podcast is produced by LoudCore Productions, graphics by Josh, and music by Jordy James.